What's up, friends? My name is Luke. I'm here today to argue why this 2017 Subaru WRX is the ultimate daily driver. I purchased this 2017 Subaru WRX back in 2018. I had about 42,000 miles on the clock, and right now we're sitting at about 85,000 miles. Now, during my ownership, we've had no serious problems, and this thing has been rock solid. Now, I believe there are three main components to getting a good daily driver. That's going to be reliability, efficiency, and practicality. All three of these things are perfectly within the reach of this Subaru WRX, and I believe it excels at each. Let's start with a quick overview of the exterior. So, a few things that are most definitely not stock. When I bought the car, it had this rhino rack installed, as well as this bike rack. Now, I'll probably do a separate review of this at some point. They've both been rock solid. Could not recommend them enough. The locking feature is incredible. It gives me good confidence whenever I have the bike up there and have to run into any kind of store or anything. The other thing that this car had when I bought it was actually a Subaru STI wing. Now, this car is not an STI, so I've debated a couple times taking it off, but I feel like it fits the lines of the car so well, it's kind of hard for me to imagine the car without it at this point. One thing that I actually put on the car was this set of 2017 STI wheels that I got off the marketplace. I actually got all four for right at $300, which, if you know anything about wheels, is just absolutely absurdly cheap. Now, the reason I did this was not to add to the STI poser status that I kind of have running right now, but actually because the limited wheels that were on this car were actually curbed completely all the way around. And you can see these wheels are definitely not perfect. Have a little bit of curb right there, and the right rear has a little bit of curb as well. But when I say all the way around, the old ones were completely all the way around. But besides those three things, this car is completely bone stock. We can take a little look around the exterior, kind of see how it's held up. The paint still looks really good. I do take really good care of it. You can tell right now it is most definitely not clean, but I want to give you the full experience of what it looks like when it is just being daily driven and I'm not detailing it. Feels like every other week. Now, the only weak point for this car in terms of paint is definitely the front bumper. As with any car, when you have bug strikes as well as just adverse road conditions, you're gonna get some chips and some scrapes, unfortunately. But like I said, it's a daily. Let's move on to the engine. So, as you probably know, this car uses the Subaru FA20 boxer engine, and this engine has been rock solid for me. Besides just standard oil changes, I've not had to do anything. Now, I did have to change the battery because if you know anything about the Panasonic batteries that came in these cars, they're recalled for dead cells, and it's a whole long story. But this engine in its entirety has been great. Fuel economy on the highway, if I'm pretty light on the pedal, I can get around 32, and in the city I'd say it's more around 22, but that is all purely dependent on how fast you're going. If you're getting into that pedal a little bit, you're gonna be looking more in the 22 to 18 range, which still isn't horrible, but cars these size these days are getting upwards of 40. So this car is definitely can be efficient, but you just have to drive it with a little bit of respect. Now let's move on to the interior of this car. The interior is, I believe, where this car makes its best case at being the ultimate daily driver. As you can see, I have right at 85,029 miles on this car, and like I said, except for routine oil changes and brake pad replacements, this thing has been rock solid. Now, before we go any farther, let's address the one little abnormality here in terms of just normal WRXs. Normal WRXs come manual. There's not many that I've seen that are automatic, but this CVT has actually been really good to me. Now, if you would have asked me originally, Luke, do you see yourself driving an automatic WRX? I would have said, absolutely not. And then the second question would have been, do they actually make automatic WRXs? But when I found this one, it was a great deal, so I figured I'd give it a shot. And let me tell you, this thing's been pretty good. I have had two instances of it slipping a little bit at high highway speeds, but that was about 20,000 miles ago, and since then it's been perfectly fine. Next, let's move into the infotainment center. So I've heard a lot of people either love this or hate this. Now, my one gripe with this is that it doesn't allow Apple CarPlay. After being in a few cars that offered Apple CarPlay, I can tell you it's definitely not just a gimmick, it's actually a pretty nice little thing to have. But the maps on this system are pretty good. It's just you have to continually update them through the use of the SD card because it will not update just over satellite itself. But the actual audio on this car, really good. Since this is a limited model, it comes with a Harman Kardon system, which is a 6-speaker system with a sub in the trunk deck. And for a stock system, it actually sounds really good. Moving up, you can see all of our info up here on a little info screen. So we have a boost gauge with time and temperature. Also, one cool thing is it'll actually show your acceleration percentage over there in the left corner, as well as your peak boost, which mine right now is 21.3, but you can reset that. Also, you can scroll through different clocks, see your range to empty, average miles per gallon, which is just since my last fill up. You can see what wheel has traction, average since last, and average on current trip, and then back to boost. I personally leave it on the boost because it seems to be the one that is the most entertaining and also the one where passengers go, what is that? As far as the interior goes, this is the limited trim of the WRX, and it actually holds up pretty well. I was kind of surprised. Obviously, Subaru is not exceptionally known for their interior build quality, but this one has actually been very good to me. Now, with the exception of right here on the seats, you can see there is a little bit of cracking. Plenty of life left in that leather. I stay on top of it the best I can. I'd say every other month I'm conditioning these seats with every other wash. But I mean, this is a month out right here, and you can see it's already starting to crease and crack again. So it is really nice, good feeling leather in the driver's seat, but you definitely have to stay on top of that. Now, one thing that I couldn't avoid, you can see on the top of the wheel right here that the leather is actually starting to peel off. Now, originally what happened was I just nicked it with my fingernail, and then every time you turn, it pulls a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. So I imagine someday that's gonna be something that I have to address, but I'm just gonna see if it will hold or if it'll continue to move. Now let's take a look at the back seat. Obviously, being a WRX, this car is a true 4-door, which is very nice. Passengers have definitely told me how much they appreciate that. There is plenty of room back here. Plenty of room. I've had people as tall as 6'3" back here with absolutely no complaints. I am right at 5'9", and you can see I have a good 3 inches of space from my knee to my seat, and this is where I sit, which is relatively far back. The leather back here is extremely nice. I would argue nicer than the front seats. Very plush. Doesn't get sit on as much, obviously, but just in general, these seats are so soft. You can see there is a little bit of wear, a little bit of creasing right there. I try to stay on top of that as well, but like I said, you can only do so much. Now, over back here, you can see the sub in the trunk deck right there, as well as your 3 tie-down points. Now, if having kids in your car is a consideration, I would definitely recommend this car. This car is equipped with the Subaru EyeSight system, which you can see one eye right there, one eye right there. And essentially what these are little cameras that do collision avoidance as well as lane keep assist. These have definitely been super nice, and I've actually gone off one time when a car pulled out in front of me. It can even catch it quicker than I can sometimes. I would feel fully confident putting a family in here due to the safety technology as well as just the airbags in general. But Subaru is very confidence inspiring. Also, in terms of the visibility with these little spot windows, I have no complaints at all about blind spots in this car, and I just feel completely safe putting any of my family or friends in here. Even though it is a more sporty focused car, it still feels completely safe. In terms of practicality, the trunk of this car is actually quite big. As you can see, I have my mountain biking shoes as well as an old Volkswagen repair guide back here. But I mean, this thing It's got some room in it. I've taken plenty of trips in this car with 5 people, and all of our stuff fit. Now, just barely, but it did fit. But still, for a car this size to have a trunk this big is a really nice add. Overall, I think it's really hard to beat this car in terms of being a daily driver. It's really efficient, really reliable, and extremely practical. If I was going on a trip with 3 other people, so 4 total, this car would be absolutely all I needed, as well as just the utilitarian aspect of having 4 true doors, a big trunk, and just all the safety features needed just to make you feel confident on the road. The all-wheel drive system is one thing that I didn't touch on, but I think if you're even slightly familiar with Subarus, you know how good that is. Wet roads, gravel roads, dirt roads, this thing just keeps on gripping. I've never once had a wheel slip on me, and I've been in some pretty tricky situations with this thing. Overall though, I'm very pleased with this car. I would recommend it to anyone that asks me for it. If I were to do it again, I would probably get the stick instead of the automatic, just for a driver's fun standpoint. But I don't think you can beat the versatility of the automatic, especially if you live in an area where you have start and stop traffic pretty often. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and let me know if you want to see any more videos of the WRX. Thank you, and hope you'll have a great day.